Right, so welcome back to our Global Solidarity Day dialogues. And this moment we are speaking to Comrade Mabhena. Comrade Mabhena.
Thank you, Comrade President. Greetings to all comrades and to everyone. I am Ngqabutho Mabhena. I'm the General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party. I'm sorry, I might have not heard your final comments, but I'm Ngqabutho Mabhena, General Secretary of the Zimbabwe Communist Party.
Thank you very much. We've received a lot of solidarity messages from communist parties around the globe, and you have been active today on the Global Day of Solidarity with the working people of Zimbabwe. May you shed light on what has been the day, what has been your activities, and why you
Thank you. Thank you so much, Comrade President. I hope we are able to hear me. Maybe let's just give a background because we all know that the struggle of the working class in Zimbabwe did not start today. We know the history of the working class in the liberation of Zimbabwe in the 1960s and 1970s, the role that was played by the trade union movement itself. We know the role that it also played in the construction of a post-colonial state post our independence on the 18th of April 1980. And we also know the role played by the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions in particular, and the other trade unions and the broader civil society, progressive civil society in Zimbabwe, in rejecting the neoliberal agenda as introduced in 1991, the Economic Structural Adjustment Program, which then led to the ZCTU and the progressive forces in Zimbabwe in establishing the movement for democratic change. We think from our side that as we were establishing the movement for democratic change in 1999, when we went to Chitungwiza in the National Working People's Convention, and post the formation of the of the MDC, particularly after during the chaotic land reform, the progressive world did not really understand our struggling as the working class in Zimbabwe, in that when ZANU-PF realized that it was losing political power to the labor-backed movement for democratic change, it then sought to portray everyone as agents of imperialists. Unfortunately, the progressive forces internationally bought into the propaganda by ZANU-PF that the working class in Zimbabwe and everyone else that associated with the MDC was part of an imperialist project. So this is why we never, over the last 2 decades or so, received the solidarity that we are beginning to receive from the progressive world. So this is one of the reasons why we're to establish the Zimbabwe Communist Party, to say, let's chart a different trajectory, to begin to say, what is the nature of the crisis in Zimbabwe? This is how then the ZCP gets established. So when the attack, particularly post the 2017 military coup against the working class, happened in Zimbabwe, as it continues to happen, were to go back to the international communist and workers' parties to begin to say, comrades, we are missing the point. The workers in Zimbabwe are under attack. The workers are raising genuine issues that must be addressed. And unfortunately, with the collapse of the Zimbabwean economy in the last 2 decades, the unions that are more active are in the public sector, whose employer is government, and government then says these are part of the regime change agenda. So we've been having this discussion with international communist parties and the workers' parties across the globe around the question of the struggle of the working class in Zimbabwe. So today, we then received, in the last 2 days, we received massive support of solidarity from the international communist and workers' parties. We received, I will list the names of the parties that send us solidarity messages on our site: the German Communist Party, the Communist Party of Greece, the Communist Party of Turkey, the Communist Party of Swaziland, the South African Communist Party, the Workers' Party of Belgium, the Communist Party of Chile, the Communist Party of Britain, the Party of the Communist of the United States of America, the Sudanese Communist Party. So far, these are the solidarity messages that we receive. And we are happy that Comrades International are beginning to appreciate and to understand the struggle of the working class in Zimbabwe.
You raise a very important and fundamental question there, issue there, that when the government realized that it was losing the battle internally, it engaged in defensive radicalism and also woodwinking the progressive movements around the globe. And looking at the massive support we have received today, what is your judgment in terms of your advocacy at international level, especially around the progressive movements? Are we winning? Is the truth finally dawning and getting spread out there?
We believe on our side that we are winning in terms of mobilizing the progressive world in understanding the nature of the Zimbabwean crisis. What is, of course, is being debated, which we will have to debate, is the wall vehicle, the electoral vehicle, if you like, the class character of the movement for democratic change. Is an issue that I do not think that probably in this platform we can discuss, but going forward, we need to be honest with each other to say, while we appreciate that the movement for democratic change as a political vehicle of the working class in Zimbabwe, what is its class character? Is it still rooted in the founding principles in the resolution of the National Work People's Convention? If not, what is it that the collective, together the Zimbabwe Communist Party, the working class as led by the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, that we can do? Do we still believe that there's hope that we can win over the movement for democratic change? And if we think the movement for democratic change is a lost cause, what do we do? So we're thinking forward, internal ourselves as Zimbabweans, we must have this internal discussion, but globally, we must intensify this struggle. We must speak truth to power. We must expose ZANU-PF for what it is, because you will know that Cuba and the other progressive forces believed in the ZANU-PF propaganda, that former President Mugabe was progressive, but we see now the direction that the Emerson Mnangagwa administration is taking. So people are beginning to see that this is not the ZANU-PF that all along they were supporting. We are not saying ourselves that under Mugabe, ZANU-PF progressive. What the progressive world believed was that Mugabe was seen as a soldier against imperialism. And this solidarity, international solidarity, is happening in the midst of the United Nations General Assembly, where leaders are speaking virtually, and one would imagine if President Mugabe was still alive, was still in charge, all of us we know his message that was going to deliver at the UN General Assembly. He was going to come out as an anti-imperialist revolutionary, and everyone was going to buy into that. But this is not the posture that we are seeing from Mnangagwa. So there is really a need for us to engage the progressive forces.
No, you are doing a great job in terms of that part of the struggle messaging. And if I may ask for those who are following, those who are in the international community and at home, in your view, what is the national question for Zimbabwe currently? And what are the challenges? What are the real challenges that we are facing in this country?
Is the question directed to me, Comrade President?
Yes, what is the national question?
Yes. From a Marxist perspective, Comrade President, the national question is in two components. It is the question of belonging. Who belongs? Who is a Zimbabwean? And we are saying this because you will know, particularly as the labor movement, that during the chaotic land reform program, our compatriots were mainly working on the farms, whose parents were from outside Zimbabwe, Malawi, Zambia, Mozambique, were suddenly told that they were not Zimbabwean enough to even participate in the electoral processes. Over 300,000 workers were differentiated in 2000. So that then raised the question of who belongs to Zimbabwe, who is a Zimbabwean. And this is what we also seeing in some parts of Matebeleland, where others feel that they are not sharing in the national cake. This is what you get in Manica land, where diamonds were looted by people from outside that province or that region, which then also raises the question of saying who is a Zimbabwean. So one of the things that we failed to resolve in 1980 was to build an inclusive society that accommodates every Zimbabwean, with no one having a feeling that they are a second-class citizen. But the second component of the national question, it is the class question, the whole ownership of the means of production. We have defined the struggle as a struggle against imperialism, as a struggle against the looting class. All of us, the working class, the ordinary people of Zimbabwe, have been excluded from the economy in Zimbabwe. Only a few are benefiting from the economy. So the whole struggle is about distribution of the national cake, distribution of the resources. We know that in some in our society will see the national question as the building of a democratic Zimbabwe through a democratic election, which will result in the defeat, in the electoral defeat of ZANU-PF. Therefore, in their view, that will have resolved our problems. That is a reformist agenda. But if we were to resolve the national question, yes, the importance of the question of an election is critical in building a democratic society. If you read our party program that we adopted at the Congress, we said the first step that we need to do to restore production is to build a national democratic economy, and that can only be done under a government that is caring, and we can only achieve that through an electoral process.
Thank you very much. I think just to wrap up, one of the most important purpose of this platform is for various voices, various intellectuals, and various stakeholders to give advice or to aid the trade union movement leadership to move in the right direction. The Global Day of Solidarity has come and gone now. We've received tremendous support from around the globe. The Zimbabwe issue is on the agenda of global trade union movements and the progressive movements. Where to now? What must be done in terms of attainment of the objectives of the working class? How do we attain decent lives?
We need to continue with the work that we are doing. Internally, we need to build unity within the working class. Yes, we're talking of 10% of the people that are employed, 90% of the workforce is in the informal sector. And we know that your organization, the Zimbabwe Congress of Trade Unions, now allows affiliates from the formal sector. So we need to build that unity within the working class, those that are employed, unemployed in the informal sector. We need to build progressive civil society organizations, rural organizations, women organizations, raise their class consciousness, mobilize society internally in Zimbabwe, while we also intensify the work, the international work that you are doing. Because in our view, there is need to isolate ZANU-PF from the progressive world, because ZANU-PF in the last 20 years, or at least under Mugabe, it was seen as progressive by the international, the progressive world. So one of the things is to isolate it. We are happy with the what is happening between ZANU-PF and the African National Congress. To us, it is a victory for the first time after 2 decades where the ANC and the ZANU-PF are exchanging harsh words, as it were, in public. That shows us that there is some kind of departure from the African National Congress. So we also need then to build this or intensify our work within the former liberation movements in our region as well.
Thank you very much, Comrade GS. And lastly, just to tap on your brains, this internally, we are fighting two evils. The first one is authoritarian rule or authoritarian regime, and the other one is in where the state has definitely failed, the state failure. It is failing to protect citizens and to provide personal security, failing to provide public services. Hospitals are closed, schools are not going to open. It is also facing an economic implosion with hyperinflation. Do you think the working class, the trade union movement, is geared to face the dual enemies, authoritarian rule and neoliberalism effects?
First, Comrade President, we might have a different view as communists that the Zimbabwean state is strong. We want to submit to that. It has not failed, the Zimbabwean state. It advances and protects the interests of the class that it represents. So we normally interpret the failure by the governing party to provide the basic services, like we highlighted in the demands that were circulating: failure to pay workers decent wages, failure to restore dignity in our education sector, health sector, providing water in our cities, and so forth. That does not suggest, though, that the state has failed, because the state is an organ of class rule. Every day we see the brand new vehicles that are driven in Harare, costing over $1 million. So the class that is represented by the state is benefiting. Now, we have also characterized this as a deep state, meaning that the unelected are the ones that are running the affairs of the Zimbabwean state. Now, how then do we come out of this? This is why, in our view, as the communists were saying, we need to build unity within the working class, because the neoliberal agenda that you are raising is linked to ZANU-PF. To some extent, the opposition, we might not agree, but to the opposition, this is why some of us will reject the reformist agenda. So we think that defeating ZANU-PF in an election and replacing it with a neoliberal party, a party that advances the neoliberal agenda, might not necessarily be the solution, but it might be a step in trying to rebuild our industry so that people return to work. So what is needed is to begin to say, how do we win the key organs of the state? the military itself, which we might not elaborate on this platform, but the military, it is a key a state organ that must be won over. And we must then begin to debate to say, how do we achieve that? Because what we're saying to the comrades in the ANC is that in the meetings that are happening between the ANC and the ZANU-PF, if the military, which is a key state organ, which installed in Mnangagwa, for instance, is not part of these discussions, we do not think there will be a resolution.
Oh, thank you very much. I think let's develop it further in another engagement. This was quite interesting and gave us different perspectives. I would like to develop it further in the next segment when we meet again and discuss these issues on whether it's a failed state or not, and whether if the state is now catering for the few, whether it's still a functioning state, yes, very strong and having monopoly of violence over the majority. But if it cannot provide for the majority, can we not definitely say it has failed? But thank you very much, Comrade Mabhena. And let's continue with the struggle. Aluta, continue.
Aluta, thank you so much, Comrade President, and everyone who is following in the program. We appreciate and we call on all of us to stay safe from COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Be blessed.
Thank you.